This is CBN NewsWatch.
And thank you so much for joining us for this first edition of CBN NewsWatch for Tuesday, May 21st. I'm Ephraim Graham. We want to begin with a no-show on Capitol Hill. At the request of President Donald Trump, former White House attorney Don McGahn is defying a subpoena to testify before Congress about the Russia investigation. McGahn was a key witness in Mueller's report, and Democrats believe he offers the most damaging evidence against the president. Democrats are angry at his refusal to testify, and they're expected to hold McGahn in contempt. President Trump says the Mueller investigation is over.
At the end of all of that, he said there's no collusion. Now what happens is the Democrats want to redo, and we've had enough, and the country's had enough.
We have a president that is actively trying to cover up and prevent the American people from getting to the truth, and that's not something I think we can tolerate.
Senior Washington correspondent Jennifer Wishon is in Washington with more on this ongoing saga. So, Jennifer, how's the Trump administration justifying telling McGahn to defy the subpoena?
Well, the Justice Department issued an opinion yesterday that says senior advisors to the president, that Congress can't compel senior advisors to the president to testify about their official duties. And the president was asked about this, and he's sticking by it. He says that his White House is working to preserve this privilege for future presidents.
So do we have any indication what House Democrats plan to do next?
We do, Ephraim. We know that yesterday evening, senior Democrats met privately with Speaker Nancy Pelosi to try to convince her to begin impeachment hearings against the president. They say that using the impeachment process will give them more power to get the documents and the testimony they need without interference from the president. But it is unclear if they have convinced the president, or excuse me, the speaker, because so far she has been reluctant to go down that trail pursuing impeachment against the president.
And why doesn't she want to go the route of impeachment?
Well, it's political, Ephraim. The speaker knows that typically impeachment hearings are not popular with Americans, and she's using her history as her guide there. They certainly were not popular when Republicans impeached President Bill Clinton. And so heading into this election, she fears that if Americans are exposed to a long impeachment process, that they will actually rally to President Trump's defense in 2020. So the speaker thinks that Democrats have a better chance of taking the White House next year if they don't go down this trail. However, calls for impeachment among Democrats are getting louder, and even one Republican, Congressman Justin Amash, has joined that rallying cry as well.
All right, lots to watch. Jennifer, thank you so much.
Thank you.
The controversial Equality Act is moving through the legislative process, but it's still not a done deal. Although it passed the House and Democrats say it protects LGBTQ Americans, Republicans say it's misleading and filled with what they call poison pills. Abigail Robertson brings us more now from Washington.
As Democrats celebrate the first ever passage of the Equality Act in the House, Republicans caution the bill is not quite what people think it is.
We all want everyone to be able to be treated equal, but it really actually changes the very nature of a way most businesses and institutions will conduct themselves were this to become law.
8 Republicans joined every House Democrat in voting for the measure.
There is nothing more central to the idea of America, nothing that has contributed more to the exceptionalism of our country and the prosperity of America than the guarantee of equal protection of the law for every single American.
The bill amends the Civil Rights Act to prohibit discrimination based on sexual orientation or gender identity.
We're gravely concerned about spaces like bathrooms, locker rooms, changing rooms, dormitories. We're concerned about the material consequences of eradicating the category female from the law.
Kara Dansky, a Democrat, feminist, and LGBTQ advocate, tells CBN News she's strongly opposed to the legislation.
If the bill is permitted to go through, it would redefine the word sex to mean gender identity, and that has grave consequences for women and girls.
Conservatives fear the bill violates parental rights.
The son can actually go to a doctor without the parent's involvement at all, even if the parents object vocally. Under this bill, the doctor has to treat the boy to ultimately transfer over to be a female.
Allowing young children to make life-altering sex change decisions.
In Ohio, there was a parents that had their parental rights taken away from them because they refused to go along with giving hormone treatments to their teenage child.
And it punishes doctors who object too.
We've had other states that have sued hospitals who have, they're faith-based hospitals who have not gone along with doing a sex change operation on a child, and they're being sued for discrimination.
Congresswoman Hartzler, a former track coach, worries about female athletes now competing against biological men.
It's going to be detrimental to women's sports.
And thinks it'll mean the end of religious liberty cases winning in the court. It's not likely Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell will bring it to the floor this session. And even if it were to pass both chambers, the White House has already indicated the president will not sign it. Reporting from Capitol Hill, Abigail Robertson, CBN News.
More severe weather from Texas to Missouri, Kansas, parts of Oklahoma as well, spawning terrifying tornadoes and more flooding. At least 17 tornadoes, 2 spinning side by side, caught on video in Oklahoma, causing all kinds of damage, forcing residents to take cover. And with the tornadoes came flooding rains, destroying homes and property. Emergency workers were out all night rescuing people from their homes and their cars. Residents took shelter at churches. They all say they were surprised at how quickly the floodwaters washed through.
I've never seen flooding like this. It's all around my home. It's coming in my garage. I've never seen it this bad.
I texted Brandon. I was like, Brandon, I'm gonna have to swim into the house. He's like, what do you mean? I was like, open the front door. It was already up to our porch.
There is a subtropical storm making its way to the East Coast. Tropical Storm Andrea has formed hundreds of miles southwest of Bermuda. The National Hurricane Center tweeted Monday, Andrea had a well-defined center with maximum sustained winds of about 40 miles an hour. Although there are no coastal watches or warnings in effect, the National Hurricane Center says people in Bermuda should monitor the storm's progress for the next few days. Students at Morehouse College received the perfect graduation gift, a debt-free start. Billionaire and philanthropist Robert F. Smith told the 400 graduates of the historically black college he was paying all their student loans.
On behalf of the 8 generations of my family who have been in this country, we're going to put a little fuel in your bus. And my family is making a grant to eliminate their student loans.
Smith went on to encourage the class of 2019 to pay it forward. Now, the cost of this gift is about $40 million. Coming up, the keys to a long and healthy life without giving up the taste and comforts of good food. Stay with us.
It's about the competition.
I kind of put that pressure on myself, and I think people had expectations.
It's about overcoming.
We use this phrase all the time, keep chopping, keep practicing hard.
It's about going the distance.
You know, I think as a father, it's my job, to lead. Just be the best husband and father I can be.
Watch Going the Distance with Sean Brown Saturday night at 7:30 on the CBN News Channel.
Superbook fans, here's something else you'll love. It's the new Superbook Bible app. It's packed with games, activities, and Superbook episodes that you can watch for free. Oh no! There's trivia, a fun daily devotional, and answers to your Bible questions. Plus, an easy-to-understand Bible the whole family will enjoy. You can even create your own Superbook character. Ta-da!
A no falls, man. Come.
Sorry, pardon me. Sorry, excuse me. Ouch!
Are you getting this?
Earn super points to win daily prizes, too. And so much more! Time to get back to my adventures. See you soon. It's the new Superbook Bible app. Free downloads on iTunes, Google Play, and Amazon.
How can you find God's plan for your life?
CBN presents The Plan, 8 Keys to Understanding God's Will for Your Life. In Pat Robertson's latest teaching, you'll discover the steps to take in following God's plan, how to know for certain when God is leading you, how to get rid of spiritual blindness and see God work.
God said, I've got a plan to give you a future and a hope.
Get The Plan. Call 1-800-700-7000 or visit CBN.com.
Get the top political news and analysis from Washington on Faith Nation, tonight at 6 Eastern, only on the CBN News Channel.
There are many diets out there promising weight loss, but if your goal is to live a healthy life into old age, research shows a plant-based diet is the way to go. The author of The Longevity Paradox shows our Lori Johnson some of the super healthy plant-based foods that are like our favorite comfort foods with none of the guilt.
Now, you say science is overwhelming that fasting, of all things, is really good for us.
Yeah, you know, fasting has such a great tradition. You know, all great religions have fasting as part of the experience. And we used to think it was penance of, you know, paying back or suffering. In fact, it was because fasting improved people's health. And all the modern research has proven that those ancient traditions had reasons to improve health. What fasting does is actually makes the stem cells that recreate new cells that we all have in us activate and actually repopulate the wall of our gut, actually can grow brain cells, and it can actually grow heart cells. So fasting is really good. What's bad about fasting is people think of fasting as deprivation. Oh, geez, you know, I got to eat. Everybody's got to eat. And so much of our culture has been told, oh, you got to eat every 3 hours. You got to have a snack between meals. You have to have a snack before bedtime. And all of the evidence is truly that that's really bad for us. And it's part of the reason we're aging rapidly. So, for instance, breakfast is break fast, and it's the fast after night. And there's no law that says breakfast is when we should be breaking our fast. In fact, I just came back from France, and the French have actually no word for breakfast. Déjeuner is their first meal, and it's lunch. They invented petit déjeuner when all the tourists showed up and said...
That's their version of breakfast.
Yeah, so the longer we can go between meals, actually the better our health. Recently, Dale Bredesen was on the 700 Club, and he's a good friend of mine. And Dale would tell you, as I would, that we should really go about 14 to 16 hours between 2 meals.
So ideally, every single day, people should go ideally 14 hours or longer without eating. So that's between the last time they eat at night, 6 p.m., for example, all the way until mid-morning the next day. Now, you actually have something in your book, which I found fasting, which is called the fasting mimicking diet, which means you can actually eat some food and your body thinks you're fasting. Talk about that.
Yeah, so, you know, we talked about the blue zones have very little animal protein, and that's the thing that makes them live a very long time. And it breaks my heart because I actually grew up in Omaha, Nebraska, you know, the beef capital of the world. But what's been shown is that if we, Dr. Walter Longo from USC, who's become a friend of mine, has shown that if you go 5 days in a row eating a low-calorie vegan diet of about 800 to 900 calories a day, once a month, so Monday through Friday, eat a low-calorie vegan diet, you will act as if you had gone on a 30% reduction of calories over the entire month. You will stimulate your stem cells. You will repair your immune system. And all it costs you is 5 days a month. So in the book, we have a fasting mimicking diet. And one of the best ways to achieve that is the use of leeks. Now, in Europe, leeks are incredibly popular, but in the United States, we look at these and say, well, it looks like a giant onion. And it is part of the onion family, and we actually usually use only the white parts. But leeks make a compound called polyamines, which we've mentioned before, that really promotes health. But the great thing about it is you can eat huge amounts of leek soup because there's very few calories. So you can fill up and not feel deprived. And that's the key. You can actually mimic a fast without depriving yourself. And that's the whole idea. We don't want to deprive ourselves.
And this is actually quite delicious. I had some, and this is one of the main ingredients that you recommend for people when they go on the fasting mimicking diet, 5 days a month.
In a row.
In a row.
And so it's really easy to do in 1 week. And then you get the weekend and you can start eating again.
Now, to watch the entire interview, you can tune into Healthy Living tonight at 9:30 Eastern on the CBN News Channel. Still ahead, actor Jonathan Adams from Last Man Standing talks about getting laughs on the sitcom with Tim Allen and the importance of family and faith. Stay with us.
People want to know, is there a plan and how do you find it?
CBN presents The Plan. 8 keys for understanding God's will for your life.
We're going to talk about God's plan for your life.
Is there a plan for everyone to life?
In Pat Robertson's latest teaching, you'll discover the secret to knowing and living out God's unique purpose for you.
The plan of God will be unfolded in your life in ways you couldn't believe possible.
In The Plan, Pat reveals the principles to understanding God's will so that you will be filled with peace, provision, joy, and satisfaction. Plus, see amazing stories of how others are living out their individual purpose intended by God.
God is faithful, and we did what He told us to do.
Live the life God has designed for you.
I hope that God works out a plan in you that will bring blessing, joy, peace, and happiness.
Get the plan. Call 1-800-700-7000 or visit CBN.com.
Remember for a moment what it was like to be a child. You believed every story you were told. You saw a world full of endless possibilities. What stories will the world's orphaned and at-risk children believe? We believe the Bible tells the only story truly worth believing. We believe that every child should have the opportunity to dream, the chance to take challenges and turn them into possibilities, the chance to stand on the promises of God, to recognize their place in the greatest story ever told. They have their whole lives ahead of them. Theirs is a world of endless possibilities. They are looking for a story to believe. We will tell them that story. Will you join us?
Check out the CBN News Daily Rundown podcast each weekday with me, Caitlin Burke. Click on the show tab at cbnnews.com where you can listen and subscribe.
Well, he's known as Chuck Larrabee on the incredibly popular sitcom Last Man Standing. He recently visited the 700 Club, and I had the chance to speak with him as well. Jonathan Adams, we talked about his role on the sitcom, his family, as well as his faith. And Last Man Standing star Jonathan Adams joins us right now. So the first thing I love about this show is the fact that I feel like the fans resurrected it, correct?
The fans
canceled on ABC?
The fans brought it back. Mm-hmm. It was canceled on ABC for a season, and it came back on Fox the year after that. So yeah, they protested. There was an online petition. Mm-hmm. There was all kinds of stuff on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. They just did it, and Fox was really amenable to it. They really wanted this show back on the air.
That surprised you? I mean, as an actor in this business, to see that fans had such a loud voice and could actually give you your job back?
You know, nobody ever listens to them, you know? so I didn't expect it at all. It never happens, and I really, even as we were going through the process of it, I really wasn't expecting it to work, you know? They called me and said, well, we're going to bring the show back. Well, I'll believe it when I see it. Okay, table reads next week. Okay, I'll believe it when we're actually at the table read. okay, we're on the air. Okay, unbelievable. It just never seemed like it was going to be, something that happened, and it did, and it was a blessing.
Were you surprised by the cancellation in light of how successful this show was?
I was. I expected them to go, okay, well, we'll give you like a short season next season and say, this is a goodbye season for Last Man Standing. No, they just cut it off, and they were just like, we're done with it, and it had been going on for so long, and it was so beloved. I really expected something different from ABC, and this is what we got now, and I'm very happy with it.
You're going back for season 8. 8 years of doing this.
8 years. 9, technically.
Yes. Why do you think it's been so successful, and why does it resonate so with people?
It's a wonderful family, and Tim Allen is super duper talented, and we have, put together such an eclectic and fun cast, a group of people that I'm just. That's why it's successful. And we have, Jay Leno on the show, who doesn't normally do any acting at all. This is his acting credit. Jay Leno's acting credit is Last Man Standing.
For people watching may not know, how did acting find you, or you find acting? What happened?
Well, I wasn't into acting as a kid. I wanted to be like an astronaut or a doctor or, something in the sciences. Science was really my thing as a little kid. And then a friend of mine said, that girl you like, she's in drama club. And I was like, well, maybe I'll show up to drama club. And so I showed up to drama club, and I started, reading and got bitten by the acting bug right then and there, doing that. And got my first role and started doing, things on, in my school.
Yeah.
And eventually that led to me going to Carnegie Mellon and the university, which is in Pittsburgh, and which led me to, becoming a stage actor, which led me here.
Beautiful. For people who are not familiar with your faith story, you are a man of faith, just like Tim Allen is. What brought you to Christ?
I'm going to say my wife. I'm going to say, I was not a Christian before I was married, and she and I started going to church together, and what later convinced me was reading the Bible and finding men and women of the Bible who were just flawed people doing wonderful things, and those people convinced me that this was for real. I mean, why would God write about people who were flawed? Why would you have people who made mistakes like the mistakes that David made, or Peter, or even Saul turning into Paul?
Absolutely.
Why would you do that kind of thing? And in order to convince people that about your faith or anything like that, he just gives it to you that this was a real thing, and that's what brought me to it.
Nice. How does that inform the work that you do now?
Well, to me personally, as an actor, Christianity informs me in that I think of myself as honestly only performing for one person, and I audition for one person, and that's God. And when I perform for one person. I wanna reflect Him, and I wanna lift Him up in everything I do.
Nice. You're hopeful in this day and age, in light of all that's going on in our world. You wake up hopeful.
Oh, it's hard. Mostly I do. I don't know if hope is the right word. Yes, I guess hope is the right word. I'm cautiously optimistic is what I think it is. I think we're still gonna make it in this world. Yeah, and it's up to Him.
All right, we are indeed victorious, and for folks looking to see you, season 8 of Last Man Standing.
That's right.
We'll catch you.
All right, thanks,
Thank
man.
you so much.
Nice to meet you.
Pleasure to meet you. Thank you. Coming up, a unique response to cultural criticism by one of America's favorite fast food chains, all centered in a higher calling. Stay with us.
as the world watches from the outside.
It's a big diplomatic tug-of-war here in the Middle East.
Go inside the story with Jerusalem Dateline.
Israeli archaeologists are talking about a discovery that could change the thinking about the Temple Mount.
Join CBN Jerusalem Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell and get the biblical perspective on the events shaping the world.
What starts in Israel then ends up going to other places.
Watch Jerusalem Dateline, Friday night at 9:30 on the CBN News Channel.
Orphans Promise is committed to loving and serving at-risk children, to helping keep families together, and to creating opportunities for strong and sustainable communities around the world. We're working in over 60 countries around the world, and with your help, we can do even more. There's an old African proverb I love that says, if you want to run fast, run alone. But if you want to run far, run together. At Orphans Promise, we want to run far so we can touch the lives of as many orphaned and vulnerable children as possible. But we don't want to go alone. We're out to change the world, one child, one family, one community at a time. Will you join us?
Meet the pastors who are preaching the gospel in a fresh, fearless way. I'm Roberto Torres-Cedillo. Join me each week for Next Gen Voices. And watch God transform a generation.
Young people, millennials, are flocking to church.
It's not an exaggeration to say that we love to meet them and that we love to know their stories.
The head of Chick-fil-A's charitable foundation says the Christian fast food company's mission is focused on a, quote, much higher calling than any political or cultural war. Chick-fil-A has come under fire for its charitable donations to organizations like Fellowship of Christian Athletes and the Salvation Army. But Rodney Bullard defended the company's decision in an interview with Business Insider, saying, regardless of where you may find yourself on any particular issue, this is our collective problem, and that we all can be a part of the solution. We all should join together and be a part of the solution. Bullard also said Chick-fil-A has more than 300 philanthropic partnerships that primarily focus on lower income and underserved young people. Time now for your Tuesday Tweetable, and today I leave you with this thought. Don't want just to get. Want with the desire to give. God's blessings don't stop at getting to you. They're meant to flow through you into the hands of another in need. You are the hand of Jesus Christ. So open that hand, live and give. With that word, make today a terrific Tuesday. That will do it for this edition of CBN NewsWatch. Remember, you can always find more on the issues you care most about at cbnnews.com. You can also watch CBN News programs anytime throughout the day on the CBN News channel. We'd love to know what you think about the stories you've seen here today. You can do that by emailing. That email address is newswatch@cbn.com. And of course, you can always reach out and touch us on Facebook, on Twitter, and Instagram. Hope you'll join us again right here next time. Make it a terrific Tuesday. We'll see you right back here same time tomorrow. Goodbye, everybody, and God bless.